This is going to be a really tough six hours, but conditions are horrific. I think that's the best word. I'm going to put it out there now, yeah? We won't get a film out of this. Not a chance. We're here today at Makins Fishery for the live match. The match itself is on phase 2. We've got lizard, lagoon and snake. 3 lakes I don't know much about. Not lakes I've match fished, to be honest, but I beat Andy Bennett here, which obviously not many people beat Andy Bennett, so that is my claim to fame. So let's get the draw done and then we'll go from there. Okay, we've drawn Lagoon 22. Now, I'm up what they call the arm. Some people call it the dead arm, which I'm not sure is a good thing. I'll be honest and say I don't really fancy it, but I think the lake's going to be hard. It's high pressure, it's boiling hot, there's virtually no wind, there's not much shade, there's not much positivity on the box. I'm in this little arm, it's very shallow. I've literally got no more than 3 foot anywhere. I've got a little island in front, one a long way away to the right, and then one a long way away to the left. I've got loads of room, but it just worries me how shallow it is, lack of cover as in shade, and the weather. But I do think it's going to be difficult. But I'm going to kick off slapping a hard 6mm, basically all over the peg without really feeding anything. See if I can nick a couple of fish, and then I'll feel my way in from there. Rig wise, I've set up 2 0.51 carbon cookies, 2 0.15 even carbon cookies for shallow. They're on 0.17 N gauge, 0.15 N gauge hook lengths, 16 Super LWGs, just so I can band a hard 6, and I'm literally going to slap it all over the place. Start off probably slapping on the corner where there's a bit of rush fell in, try it in open water, try it around there, just try and nick fish from all over the place basically. So 2 slapping rigs, and I've got a 0.5 gram bagger, 0.4 gram bagger even, for fishing on the corner of the island. But I wanted it to be like 12 inches deep, and I reckon it's what, 2.5 foot. But again, I'm going to kindle a few hard pellets in there when I go on there and see what happens. And then I've set up 2 0.4 gram JLs, one for 30 metres in line with a pallet, one for top kit, and 2 just there in open water. Again, hard pellets, just feeding little bits of bait. I think it's going to be one of those days where I'm not going to catch a load of fish in any one spot. I'm going to have to keep chopping and changing, moving about, and hopefully keep picking fish off. You know, I mean, there's a tiny bit of wind on. If the wind got up a bit, I think it'd help. But the fact it's narrow and like it's so flat and so hot, I do think it's going to make it difficult. And I think that's why it's like, you might be listening now thinking, well, what's his plan? He hasn't really got a plan. And to be honest, I haven't. Start off slapping, get a feel for what's in front of me, and then literally we'll go from there. Going to kick off, slap it, and just going to feed a few hards there in case I want to drop on it. And I'm just going to flick a rig over. Just going to flip one over in the open water first, and then move to the rushes without really feeding anything, because I feel like feeding any amount of bait could spook fish. There was a fish. Well, there was a fish on top just past the pole, but there's no. Even though it's boiling hot and it feels like really high pressure, there don't seem to be any amount of muggers about. I mean, the fish as a rule at Makins don't respond, particularly on these little lakes, to large volumes of bait as in a really positive approach. So I feel like as the day goes on, I'm going to have to fish to cover, hence I'm just seeing if I can nick one in the open water to start before the sun gets too bright. Oh, there's a little tiny indication there, and there is some little tiny fish though, and I feel like if it had been a carp it would have just smashed under. I say it's only 3 foot deep there, so it's like I'm slapping at what, 14, 16 inch. There's a fish just moved there, might have come to the noise. it's an odd way of fishing in summer, but it's one at Makins when I used to fish it a lot, just slapping without feeding. I used to catch a lot of fish, and it used to catch when you couldn't catch feeding. Although I would have expected to nick one quick. Probably give it another couple of minutes. I think there's an odd, I've had two or three little tiny dips now, but no sign of a carp come into the plop.
He's up, Steve.
Yeah, nuisance silver. Not a great start. A nice chunky roach. Right, what I'm going to do, just looks a bit flat and lifeless there. I'm going to ping a few 4mm hard fishery 4s just into them grasses on either side of the island. I've oiled them up with pellet oil, so they're really going to slick. I'm also deliberately firing them so some will get stuck on the rushes, because what I want it to do is hopefully bring a few fish up in the water. I do think though, I don't know if that's a carp there under the surface. If it was, it's not interested. I'm going to give this another minute, then I'm going to move to where them bits of rush just overhang the water and slap it there. There isn't many carp there, that is for sure. When you're catching roach, that always fell off. Right. Let's move to the island. Problem with a peg like this is how sort of hemmed in you are, and with it being shallow, I haven't got loads to go at. I need a way in at the minute, as in where you think, oh, I've got started now. I feel like there's an odd fish bow wave and there's one long there, but every fish I see, I think that's not the only fish here. I should have let that sit on the first slap. Just because there's a little bit of weed overhanging there, just a little bit of cover. If it was shaded, it'd be even better. Alright, don't know if that was fouled actually. This is the problem. Yeah, fouled. I'll probably shallow that rig up because it was sat. Just felt like it was fouled. Just going to shallow it up an inch, probably fishing 14 inch. But although we didn't land it, at least it's a sign of a fish. Just fishing a hard fishery 6. Just going to ping a few 4s over the top. At least there was one there. slap it first just to see if there's another. There's a fish just moved under the pole there. Oh, that might have been a carp bite. No, it's a rod bite. Is it a red? No, it's a hybrid. It's like a little pommy. The wind has actually turned right round now, so it's actually blowing out of this arm, which is not what I wanted. The only plus is it's blowing onto the other side of the island. So maybe I'll be better off slapping that side where there's a tiny bit of on-off ripple. One of the issues is here, because the island, this is quite an old lake, one of the originals, there's no shallow water. So when you plumb around the island, ideally I'd be able to get in like 12 inches of water, but it's basically like 2.5, 3 foot, which is too deep. There's literally no signs of any fish. To see a cruise of them, but he's not very interested. There's another one out there as well. Let's try a slap on the other side of the island. Another nice silver. The way this has started, yeah, this is going to be a really tough six hours. It's just hard to see. I'll have another look on this corner. But when it's only 3 foot deep and it's boiling hot, I feel like you see every fish that's there. Basically, I'm just looking for a fish to be cruising around that cover, hear that pellet drop in, and just decide to eat it. But there's so few fish cruising. Let's go back the other side. it's hard to, although I'm going to try it in a minute, it's hard to see there being loads of fish on the deck. Mainly because of the lack of depth. I was hoping I'd be able to get a few just slapping around. Right. Pretty sure this one's in the mouth because I've just dobbed it. Just been pinging a few oiled up fours onto the corner of that island. And then just slapping a rig down the edge where there's a little bit of cover under the tree. Not had a bite down there, but just to get my pole off the water. And then two fish just appeared on top. And I've just flicked a hard pellet in front of them, and one of them, I'm pretty confident, has ate it. We are, what, half an hour in, and if we get this out, this will be the first fish. At the minute, I still feel like I'm feeling my way in. I can't really see much on this lake. On the other lake, which is a better lake anyway, it's not a bad one. The only people I can see catching look like they're dobbing. Yeah, it's a nice size fish, I reckon 5-6 pound. Could get 10 of them somehow. I don't think we'd be far off winning the lake. We are an hour in. There's a little bit of a ripple got on in the last sort of 10 minutes. Although whilst I haven't had a proper bite, I've seen a couple of fish like just spook off the float. So when there's a ripple on, they just feel a little bit more confident. Not that I think there's many here. I've just shallowed up a couple of inches to about 10 inch as well. I'm just literally slapping a rig all around that, around the island, because I just don't think any fish are going to feed away from cover unless I can dob them, and there's very few. Well, there isn't any fish at the minute that I think I can dob. I'm literally just pinging fours either end. So left hand end and right hand end. Like that fish there just come completely out of the blue. Conditions are just really bad. I can't see anyone on the lakes. I've got no idea, because the rest of the lake's all in the bowl, which is a lot wider. There is an odd fish cruising around because the rush moves every now and again. But because of the way the islands are, you can't get tight in. So it's literally a case of turning this 6mm over and hoping that one hears it and decides to peek out and try and eat it. First hour's elapsed. I've got two fish, I reckon, for £8-9. probably £8 top. A little tiny bit of wind getting up, which, since the wind's got up, I've had 2 or 3 indications on this slapping rig and the fish has just shot off. I don't know whether it was a bite, liner, either way I didn't hit it. But the swim's just got a little bit more life in it. You know, when conditions are still poor, obviously it's really high pressure. And like the only options I can really see are alternating slapping a rig on this point and then looking for a mugger, but there's literally there's very few opportunities to try and mug anything. I'm alternating between pinging a few of these oiled up pellets on the corner. I don't think I want to be pinging all the time. It seems better just to ping a few, get a few stuck in the rushes, hope a fish tries to start eating them, and then just slap on top of it. You see, I just see one then to my left, but literally as you see it, they're spooking straight away. I think if a ripple would just get up, even a tiny ripple, it'd give, not saying it'd transform it, but it'd make it a lot better. So I think it's going to be really difficult anyway, just because of these conditions. And like every fish is a bonus. I'm going to alternate back to that. Oh, there we go. Like I said, I wouldn't say it's amazing, but in that last 10 minutes, I've caught a fish. Whoa. This is the problem in shallow water, they don't half fight. I've caught a fish and had 2 other indications. And like I can feel, like at the minute, I know what I'm doing. I'm really struggling to see where any deck fish are coming from still. But that might not be the end of the world. I think this is in the mouth. I think it's important as well to keep going left and right on the island, because it always seems when I switch, there's a chance straight away. And if you repetitively slap in one spot, your chances of a bite are minimal again. The tail, ghosty. The telltale's going to be whether when I go back in now, it takes me, how long it takes me to get a bite. Especially if you throw your landing net in. I'm going to try feeding it a little bit now as well, because that fish came after a feed. Bear in mind, I think £60 is going to be good. We're in a 6-hour match and I reckon I've got 11. So I'm actually pretty much on course, especially as you'd like to think a few fish will feed at the death. Just trying to mix it up. Sometimes I'm slapping it 3 times, and then then I have a little spell of just rotating it once. Most of the bites have come on 3, but it's always worth just flicking it over once. See, I caught that fish, I had a couple of indications, caught that fish and gone back in hoping for another response, and literally nothing. But there's a tiny bit of ripple coming now. Just saw a couple of fish appear from around the corner of the island. Just flicked a pellet at this one and it ate it literally instantly. Still obviously really, really difficult. there was that little 10-minute spell where it wasn't amazing, but I had like a fish, 3 indications, and you thought, oh, they're moving in. But looking at even the other lake, which started really well, seems to have dried up. And I just heard the lad opposite me, I can't see because of the island, he's had a skimmer and a roach. I've seen the lad on my right have 1 carp. It's really difficult. So like whether there'll be a lake runner feeding fish, I'm not sure, or whether it'd be a case of just doing what I'm doing and hoping it gets a little bit better, or I can just tick along. You know, it's not frenetic, but it was never going to be. Like I said, we're fishing, I think, for £60 in 5 hours, unless there's a load of 6 hours, unless there's a load of muggers at the other end, which is possible, but I doubt. It'd just be nice to catch a fish and then not have to wait ages to go back in and catch the next one. You know, I'm taking my time with them as well, because everyone needs to count. Other than since that first one, they've not been big fish. That first one was a nice fish, sort of 5-6 pound. That one's like £4 plus, lovely fully scaled mirror. Literally, he just popped his head around that corner. It looked like there was 2 fish. I just flicked the pellet in front of it, well, at it, and it ate it literally as it hit the surface. It's just at the minute I've not had 2 bites in a row. But then, like I say, when I'm looking round, there's very few fish being caught. The end peg in the corner on the other lakes probably had 6 or 7. See, I just spooked one then shipping out. That's the problem when it's so shallow everywhere. Like I say, I feel like it'd be a completely different peg if that wind just got up. So there's one there's a mugger. Oh, he's dropped. I've just about. There's an odd fish. There's a decent mirror, well, not massive. See if I can mug it and just swim in here. See if he eats that. No. He just sort of dropped. I was probably a little bit late getting to him. There is a fish on that island now, but it's always one. You can just see the odd ripple coming out. Maybe as the day goes on though, 1 will become 2. So it'd be nice to go back in. Oh, I had a bite then. Not sure. Just twisted the float so I can straighten it without. No. Have I straightened it? Yeah. Just trying to slap it in between them bits of rush that stick out, so there's a little bit of cover overhanging the fish. That's why I've not cleared that area as well, trying to give the fish something to get under, even though it's only a tiny bit of weed. It's better than no cover at all. Obviously the downside is you get caught on it like that. But I feel like it holds up an odd pellet. I don't know if there's some little fish there now. Because normally when you're fishing like 10-inch like I am now, when a fish, if it's a carp bite and you miss it, you see it. Whereas I've just missed a couple of bites then. but not seeing any signs that they're actually carp. Just in one of, just would be nice just to like get two in like quick succession, but it's like each fish is very much out the blue. Like you see an odd one just swirl to my right, but they're not staying up. See, see if that eats. No. There's one. It's like it's one of these little spells now, where there's a few like swimming around. There's a ghostie out in the middle. Ghosties are the hardest of the hard to dob, as I've just proved there. But all of a sudden, when it's like when there's that little bit of breeze, just saw like 4 or 5 fish. They didn't stay up, but they were there. They're not in the food, obviously. There's nothing really. So that looked like just spooked out a carp then. No sign on the float. And there's one just moved this side of the island. I feel like there's a chance of a bite at the minute. Yes! Literally, I reckon it's probably 20 minutes since the last fish, and another bite out the blue. What's become apparent is it's hard to get a bite, but getting one, the closer you can slap that, I can slap a pellet to cover, the more chance of getting a bite. The fish is definitely not keen on being just sat out in open water. There's an odd bow waver about. Like on the lake, it seems really quiet. I mean, it's not great in my peg, but from what I can see, I'm beating everyone around me. It's just not an amazing style of fishing, but the way the weather is at the minute, it's a means to an end. There's one just moved on my point then. Like I say, there's just not. The corner peg on the other lake's probably doing the best I can see, but I haven't really got to worry about him because he's on another lake. I don't think Lagoon was ever going to win the match as such. It's not a big fish, it's just lively, this one. There we go. It's a lot of effort at the minute for not loads of reward, but it's a couple of pounds less that I have to catch. The telltale would just be if I could just go back in and catch one within like 5 minutes. I reckon every fish has been sort of 10 to 15 minutes of hard work. You know, I mean, I'm watching others fishing on the bottom and no one is catching anything. The only fish I'm seeing caught are people mugging, but I haven't really got mugging as a valid option at the minute. So the main thing I've learned in the last half hour is got to get that hook pellet as close to the cover as possible, obviously ideally without getting stuck in it. I'm still pinging a few 4s either side, trying to literally ping them into the rushes, because I feel like that's the only fish that are going to feed are going to come up. But this side of the points, loads, neither point's great. See, that's stuck on a bit of rush then. There was a fish at the back there, and I'm just going to try and see if I can find a hole through that. See, I'm stuck on the last fish has sort of closed my hole up a bit. Duck. The fish are just really reluctant to feed anywhere other than against cover. I'm going to come back this way because I can get, there's a bit more of a V now here, although there's a bit of rush under the water. Oh, that's gone right in the rushes. That's not, has it come out? Not yet. Oh dear. Feels like it's gone 9 mile underneath. Literally, I've got no idea how that's gone through there, but it has. I'm pretty sure that's not come in. Out. Literally, it's gone so far. Still on because I can just see the rushes moving, but I've got no idea how that's gonna. I'll ship it back out and have a look, but I think this is terminal. It's gone through what is supposedly an island. It's literally in the island. Might as well have got up on the bank and got out. Just give it a bit of slack to see, but I'm pretty sure it's still on, but I'm also pretty sure it's not coming out. So it's going to be a pull for a, always pointing it away from you. Oh, hang on, it's out. Love to say I knew what I was doing then, but I didn't. That's how you get fish out of snags, everyone. Right, that's the first time today, little fish again, but I've had sort of 2 in 2. Right, that's literally, to be fair, shows how strong these floats are. 'Cause that's literally been right through a reed bed, and other than the shots of the cubes have all moved, nothing else has moved. Right, can we make it 3? I've got no idea, other than the fact I tried to pull that fish out the way it went in. I don't know how it come out. Right, we're 2.5 hours in, and I reckon I've got just over £30, which seems decent. Still doing very much the same, feeding either end, oiled up 4 mils. Shallowed up a little bit now, I might jinx it, but there does seem, oh, I had a bite then, to be a few more fish about, mainly on this right hand side of the island. There's very little showing on the left. Since the sun's gone in, a few more fish seem to be about. I've actually just switched rigs. I'd like to say deliberately, but I've got a tangle in my original rig and I'm on a slightly longer lash. Well, when I say lash, I mean line between pole tip and pole float. I think that's helping a little bit. Oh, that was a carp bite. I can keep the pole away from the fish a bit more now. They're definitely very spooky of the pole over them. There was a little spell a minute ago where a few dobbers appeared, like cruisers, but for some reason I saw more fish in like 5 minutes than I'd seen all day and couldn't get one. But there's an odd fish on the feed, like in amongst the bait now. I say very little on the left, but that's not surprising because I can't see any fish down the arm. It just seems to be a case of pinging a few fours. Oh God. And just keep turning the rig over. Problem is I'm on a longer lash now, which is definitely producing a few more bites, but it's that trade-off that it's making them harder to hit as well, because I'm not as tight on everything. See, where I fired a few pellets and they're getting hung up, there's an odd fish swirling for them now. One just swirled then, but it's always one, which catching one's so hard. See, he's just swirling then. They're not big fish either. There's one cruising right under my feet now. If it wasn't for the fact I'm pretty sure I'd scare him by, you can see that one just swirled then. It's weird because there's more fish in my peg now, but it's never been great, but they're actually for what I can see, they're actually harder to catch, which sounds ridiculous. A bit of rubbish. I'd like to think as the day goes on, if this sun stays in, they could have a proper go last couple of hours shallow. I've got a few ideas about setting up a deck rig as well, where I can sort of feed it, and because it's shallow and silty, I think if a few fish come over it, it'll fizz. See, straight, I had 2 bites then, and now nothing again. It's weird because like I go slightly deeper and you don't get anything, and you come the fish definitely seem to be that little bit shallower. But they're so, like one's just spooked then, like just against the float. There's just not enough there at the minute to line anything up, and they won't come away from the island at all. Which is really frustrating because you can't get, well, I can't get like 2 bites in a row. There's never been a time where I've caught a fish. Probably had 7 or 8 fish now, but everyone's like, yeah, oh, it's come out. Everyone's gone straight through. Everyone's been like a fish, wait 10 minutes for another bite. But for the first time today, the last 20 minutes, I felt like there's more than just one fish there. A little, which I'd expect. I always think when you're not on the main shoal, particularly on lakes like this. When you're not on the main shoal, the fish are always small. I've had 3 or 4 around £5, but there's a lot of like little things like £2 to £3, which I think these are the resident fish. I think the shoal fish are the big fish, and they're probably in the main bowl, although from what I'm told no one's catching them, if they are. And from what I can hear, it's certainly hard. And I've seen quite a few people trying to catch on the deck with no success at all. So can I make this the first time that I've gone in and caught a fish like one after another. It's like when you catch one, there's so few there that it takes a while to rebuild the confidence. It's like there was one just turning before I caught that one. Probably the fish that I saw turning is the one I caught. Trying to keep the pole away. That was a terrible slap. Trying to keep the pole away from the float, but at the same time try and stay tight, so if I get a bite I've got more chance of actually hitting it. I haven't really been able to work out. See, look, I just spooked one then by moving the pole. Like whether feeding's good, bad, they're not fussed. Look, never spooked one then. So there is definitely more activity, but at the minute it's not really transpiring to a better catch rate. It's like because of the conditions, as in hot, muggy, high pressure, they're just not they're not happy as such. I feel like if the pressure was low, not so muggy, and there was a little bit of a ripple, it'd be totally different. It's like they're just coming to bait, or coming to what I'm doing, but don't really, look, see one just swelled down, don't really want to feed. Which means you're not going to get, well, at the minute I'm not getting 2 bites in a row at all. Despite the fact there is an odd fish coming in. So I'm pretty sure there's one there, just see the water move then. Problem is as well, they can obviously get in the rushes. So there's a few that are just, because there's not many there and they're not confident, they don't want to come out. Let's have a quick look. Left, right, left, yeah. I haven't been feeding this side as regular. Oh, that was a bite straight away. It's harder to see the float this side. Definitely pricked something there. I'm not sure it was a carp. There we go. That's what I mean though about changing, how unconfident they are and changing sides. Maybe I can get a run that side because I've rested that side for quite a long time now. This is probably although it's not quick by commercial standards, the quickest I've had 2 fish together. Like I said, I do feel, probably going to jinx it now, the most confident I felt all day of sort of getting to £60 plus, because now that sun's gone in, if they were bigger, if they were like the lake average, them sort of 7s and 8s, which there's a lot of in this lake, you'd be able to do a proper weight. But at the minute, I think I'm just catching fish that probably live down this end. So I'll go out and see if we can repeat the process. Just fishing a 6mm on the band and feeding them 4s, but like I say, I'm not convinced. I don't think feeding's doing any harm, but they're not swirling in the pellets as such. I just think because I've oiled them up with a bit of oil, when I say oil, like pellet oil, it's just giving them a bit of scent in the water, something they can sort of swirl. They can swirl in amongst. This would be nice to see if this just didn't. Oh, I thought that moved then. It did move. Moved again then, but that looked like a little fish. A longer line has definitely been better. It's only like 10 inches longer. This was a rig I originally set up for doing a bit of mugging if I had the opportunity. So I feel like I've probably blown the chance now. I mean, it is very one-dimensional fishing, but on a day like today, fishing on the bottom just isn't a valid option. It's not going to catch you any fish. Nothing's going to want to feed on the bottom in these conditions. You know what I mean? Bit of grass. Whether it will lay on, I'm not sure. Last 15 minutes, the peg's starting to progress, and I've actually got fish for the first time in the match. I've got fish both sides of the island. I've just had 3 in probably 10 minutes on the left, and then I've literally gone straight back to the right. Oh, stop him going into the nets, and it's gone straight away. There's not enough fish there to plunder one, but I've got 2 swims now that are showing a bit of response. The fish are small, but it's carp, and I'm putting fish in the net. I'm up to, I think, £45, and we're not halfway yet. So with that, I'm probably close to, that one's getting close to 50. This one's a bit lively in the net. I do think as well, the other thing that's massively helped is the sun. It's like band's just gone round the hook. Is the sun's gone in. So that, well, I think there's two things that help. The sun's definitely gone in. And I think that's made the fish a bit more confident. And also the longer line. I think a longer line has been massive. It's only just allowing me to keep the pole away from where I want the fish to be. I'm feeding a bit now, but like I say, I'm not, other than noise, etc. I'm not, it's definitely not doing any harm. That's caught on. There's always one bit of rush that's just sticking out. I mean, I'd say even the people who've caught well on the other lake, I've had more fish than them now, but the fish on the other, the fish are much bigger, whereas I'm pretty sure I'm still catching residents here, as in the little fish that probably live in the rushes around the island. But probably jinx it now. For the first time, I've started to get regular bites. But it's really, really important to have the two lines, because one's definitely not sustainable. It's like, it's strange, almost like the right hand line started off better, and now just a tiny indication then, and now the left hand line's got the better of the two. That last one comes just as I slapped it right tight, almost like got caught on a rush and fell off, and then it had it. But it's strange because there's less. Oh, always the way. Pick your catapult up. Oh, I've got a bit of rubbish on the hook as well. Like I say, things are definitely improving. My only concern going forward is, and I'm already trying, if some fish decide to feed on the deck, because I haven't got an edge and I haven't got any shallow water, as in like 12-14 inch to fish in, I'm not quite sure where my best option is going to be late. Whereas if the fish do feed, other people could have a much better finish than me, because they've got edges. There's just nowhere to go here. It's so overgrown. Might just flick back to the left in a second, because this little diving duck I don't think helps either. It's a little duck that keeps diving under the water. Right, let's go back to the left, as that seems to be. I've probably jinxed it now, and it's just been a little burst that won't last. Thought I had a sign then. I've hardly had any fish that are not on the full. Once the pellet's settled, it seems to be dead, as in chances of a bite are gone. See, last time when I switched, the fish were already there. Let's see if I can get a quick one again. Definitely not as many, they're definitely not stacked. Had that little burst as though they just got confident. A little rudd, had a go at it, something small, had a go at it then. Oh, I dropped it on top of one. I say, even though it's slowed again, it still doesn't feel devoid. That first hour was although the sun's coming back out now, that first hour was really tough with those conditions being so muggy. Just turn it over once. See, I was hoping to switch then and get an instant fish, but it's not happened. I'm going to ping some more pellets into the grass on this one. Don't think it's devoid, but just weird how there was a little pocket there and I caught like 3 or 4 really fast. Now it doesn't feel anywhere near the same, but like I say, that it could be because this sun's out again. I don't know if I've slapped that into the rushes, but I'll let it sit just in case because it's gone tight. There's a fish, there's a possible dobber there. Oh, that was a shocking bit of dobbing. Just in case he heard the splash, I'll let it sit. I can't even see him now. Don't know if that's him there. Obviously not. He still is. Is he there? Hard to see, even with glasses on. I'm going to go back to this side because I feel this is my banker side. Oh, I've missed my bite. That's what I mean though about switching sides. To be fair, I say I missed it. It probably was never going to be on, but it was an indication. Yeah, we got him. From a carp. That's what I mean though about rather than just flogging a dead horse, so to speak, by fishing to one swim, having 2 swims on the go when it's like this is massively important. Like I say, they're all little, but it's actually turned into like, it's gone from me fearing the worst to it's actually quite nice fishing now, even if it is a bit the samey. It's about making the most. The conditions are dictating how I'm having to fish. That's an old warrior, that one. Like if conditions were different, I'd be able to catch on the deck, I think, in open water and bits like that. But high pressure, bright sunshine, flat calm, and there's only one way to fish. About 2.5 hours to go. It's eased a little bit, but it's still okay. I'm up to, I forgot to click that fish. I'll tell you what I'm up to. 1 second, let me just let this fish. I'm up to, I reckon, just over 60 pound. So to a degree I'm already at my target weight. Still catching, obviously slapping. The right hand side's now the best by miles. The left side of death, but I'm keeping feeding it because I might need it. It's all too easy to stop feeding it. It's really important as well, although it looks quite one-dimensional, slapping, I'm slapping to the cover. The fish are in the cover, so when it's like I'm trying to get my hook pellet to land within inches of the rushes, and obviously the idea is then fish hears it, comes out to get it. It's really important to try and get your pellet to land as close as possible. Like, I don't want to be slapping away from cover when the fish are in the cover. So you always should be aiming to slap towards where you think the fish are going to be. I'm also mixing it up, so I'll have like three. Three's my favourite amount to do. Three's my favourite to do. I think three's really good. So that makes plenty of noise. Slap it as hard as I can with that 6mm. And then I'll do that twice. So this is my second 3. Then if I don't get one, I'll just do a couple of single ones. So if there's a fish there and it's heard the noise, but it's not keen, just a couple. Rather than being like one-dimensional, so I'll just do 3 single ones then. So no indication. So I'll go back 3. It's rare I ever go more than, unless I'm totally convinced that noise is everything, I won't ever do more than 3. And if there's no signs, I'll always go for 3 rather than 1, because I'm trying to pull fish. So even like the longer lines definitely help, but even now the fish are still, because it's flat and still and that high pressure and muggy, the fish are still really spooky. That's 2 opportunities I've missed this time. The harder it is as well, as in like when there's not many fish there and I'm really struggling, the closer you can get that hook pellet to land to the rushes, the more chance of a bite, which tells you everything about where the fish are. And almost like the longer you go without a bite, the harder it gets to get one because of the motion of the pole. So if this doesn't go in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to switch it over to the left hand side just to rest this side again. This is the best side, no doubt. You know, when I did have one good run on, see an indication then. Definitely an indication. While there's an indication, I'll have another go. Oh, got him. But it goes to show you, it's all about sort of mixing it up. And the fish, whoa, this one's fighting a bit harder. The fish don't like the pole waving about, hence why a longer lash makes it easier to slap. What's going on? It's gone down this side. And also, it means I can keep that pole away from where the fish are. You know, there is no doubt you hit more bites with a short lash, but obviously you've got to get the bites. Problem is here as well when you're playing fish, because it's only 3 foot deep, they go off like exocet missiles. Stamp's got a little bit, I don't want to jinx it again, but there's a few more like 4-pounders in the last 20 minutes, which are the weight builders, the original fish, as though I've worked my way through the resident little ones, and there's a few better ones. You know, and if this pace carries on, we've still got 2.5 hours. There's no reason why I can't get over a ton. Because I would expect, if once that sun starts to drop a bit, the fishing could get better. Like I said earlier, my concern is I haven't got anywhere for what I call the big finish. So I need this to keep going really. Because I really struggle to see where I'm going to have like a manic ending because of the nature of the peg. It's just a case like that, 2 slaps that time because I had an indication. I just caught on a bit of a. I'll go for that wasn't great. Go for 1 now. Trying to land that hook pellet. Obviously I need to get it close, and you're probably thinking, why isn't he going closer? Because there's still quite a bit of grass hanging, but I think the grass hanging's good. Gives the fish a little bit of cover, and it also gives, like, an odd pellet gets stuck, and that encourages the fish to come up and eat them. Obviously when they come up, indication, I've got a better chance of catching them. I've caught a few on a single slap, but 3 definitely seems. There we go, that was a single slap. Like I said, if you'd have said to me after an hour we'd be on £65 plus, after halfway through I'd have said not a chance. In fact, I was ready to pack up. But it's actually quite enjoyable fishing now, obviously, because although it looks simple, there's quite a bit to it. Like I say, the fish, this might be a little one, but the fish stamp definitely seems. So it got better. I think it tells you as well, because I'm catching to that right point, there's very few fish. Even though there's loads of room down into that corner to my left, I've seen virtually no fish there. If you see fish swimming around, they're all swimming in from the right, which is why I think that right point's so good. You can see how shallow it is because the mud, I'm playing this fish and it's ripping up the bottom. Yeah, again, better fish, you see. Not getting them like two and a bit pounders, that's another £4. Right, we've got just under 2 hours to go, and it's died a bit of a death, which I suppose there was always the chance being up this end in this narrow bit. I've had, I reckon, I've got like £75 I reckon, but it's getting harder and harder and harder. I'm missing more bites as well, as though they're really, really spooky. What I'm thinking is, I haven't got anywhere to fish nice on the bottom, so like I haven't got an edge. I've thrown a couple of balls of micros in that hole down there. If anything comes in there, I'll see the rushes move. So that, like, I've thrown 4 balls of micros in there now. What I'm going to do in a second, just have a couple more slaps. The reason I'm still slapping it is I'm really struggling to see where I'm going to catch on the deck, but there's no doubt this is dying. So I'm going to do something positive. I can't see me dripping in a few hard pellets and catching a few on the deck. So what I'm going to do is feed a couple of big pots on a top kit and 2. Just see if I can get. I was just trying to moan one on, but one more slap, one more set. It's really silty, so what I'm thinking is if I big pot it and some fish want to come over it, it's not going to go, it'll start to fizz. I just feel like, you know, I mean, definitely never going to win the match here, but I'm trying to win the lake. So what I'm going to do, take some micros, some casters, some dead maggots, bit of corn, the old Bombay mix, as I like to call it. And I've plumbed a line for here anyway. The edges are so deep and I can't get anywhere. So I'm lining it up with that. I'm going to put 2 pots in. almost treating it as a bit of a margin swim in deep water. Well, not deep water, it's only 3 foot deep. But I just can't see me going in and tapping in a couple of hard pellets and getting any sort of response. It's just not that type of day. I feel like if I had an edge, things would be a lot better, but there just isn't anywhere to get in. Even if I'd have, I mean, you are allowed to garden here, but even if I'd have gardened it a hell of a lot, there's still nowhere obvious for me to, nowhere where I feel confident. Like I say, the best little hole is that one, but it's a top kit away and it's just hot, flat. I'm really not feeling it, but I'm going to feed it because it's a throwaway, and if anything comes over here, I do believe I'll see it. I'll get, them mushies will start knocking, or I'll see a fish bow wave out. But at the minute I'm in that stage of the match which I feared. Shallow line's dwindling and I haven't got a backup, which, like I say, was always likely to be an issue here because of the nature of the peg. Not offering an edge, nowhere really to get against the island, because the island's sort of fallen in. When you plumb it, you just can't find any sort of flat spots or anything. So there is an odd fish on the shallow. I spooked one then, but they're not actually taking the hook bait anymore. Like I say, it just feels like I'm running out of fish at what should be the best time of the match. So I'm going to keep, obviously, big potting that line, but if anything comes on there, it's really silty, this lake, I'd expect it to start fizzing up. And I'm just not convinced any fish will come into the open water to feed anyway, because it's still bright and flat. But like I say, if you don't open it up, you've got no chance of catching one there. I mean, I've been trying to mix my feeding up. I've tried going heavier, shallow, easing it off, almost constant, but I can't get, nothing's really, if anything, it seems better to hardly feed anything. Like my last couple of fish have actually come this side, whereas that other side's really petered out. But it's probably the most important part of the match now. Oh, that's gone. Just as I pick the catty up. Is that going to come out? No, it's gone literally through the island. It's gone like that other one, but I don't think this one's still on. It's gone so far under there. Yeah, new rig job. Hour to go, and it hasn't got loads better. I've topped up that top 2 and 2 line, and I'm still throwing bait in the edge, but I've not seen a sign of a fish there. There is a few fish coming out in the edge in the lake, just not, oh, hang on, actually there is a few bubbles just past where I fed that short line. So I'll keep feeding it. I'm trying to up the bait on this long line to try and, it's weird because when I up, it feels like when I up it, I get a couple of indications as like they want the bait, and then it just dies. A death instantly, and like you have to just back off again. It's almost like a couple of pouchfuls or a couple of good pouches, then back off it altogether and try and rely on the noise of the bait you've just fed to catch a fish. While I'm not feeding that left line, I'm trying to be a bit more aggressive with it, hopefully to try and get some sort of run. It's just frustrating because it's got worse when I needed it to get better. If it's just bow waved off that short line, possibly. Definitely, I might put another half a pot on it in a second and then go over it. Because it's an open water, I can't see me going like bang, bang, bang and getting 3 or 4 on it. But like I said, this is really tailing off now. Well, it's been tailing off. And that one good spell in the middle, let's have a quick look where I've been feeding a bit more aggressively. Had that really good spell, well, wasn't amazing, but decent spell in the middle. Yeah, there we got one. It's like there's just never been quite enough fish there to like keep on one side of the island. So I've been quite aggressive there while I've not been fishing it. Literally first slap fish. So right, that's a real little fish. That's the other thing possibly with fishing shallow. The stamp of fish is small as well, but I don't really see what other options I've had. That's been the issue all day. A complete lack of options, as in like literally fishing shallow either side. You might be thinking, well, you haven't done this, you haven't gone on it, but it's like my hole in the rush is down to my left. I'd see if the rushes would have to move if there was fish in there. I'm just going to throw another handful of casters in. And they haven't even flickered. And then where I'm feeding here, it's literally 3 foot deep. It's 3 foot deep, so I don't see, well, again, it's not going to get a massive run on there because there's no cover. I mean, I could have gone tight to the bank. That might be what but I mean still in 3 foot, and then the banks are undercut, so the fish can get behind you all the time. So one just swirled then. See if that rest has done this any good. Wasn't the greatest slap that. Problem is the float goes in white water there, and then I can't see it. It has to go in the dark water to be able to, for me to see it. So I have to go slightly left. Oh, see, there was a fish there. Just really hard to see the float there. Just in that horrible white. Oh, for Christ's sake. Another indication. So this last period's been mega frustrating. Now where I'm slapping it there, unless I get, I see it's in the dark water there. There's fish there now. It's really strange because earlier on as well, I was hitting every bite. Well, not every bite, most. I've missed far, when it's got harder, I've missed far more bites. Whether they're bites, liners or whatever. I've tried deepening up a little bit, shallowing up a little bit. Nothing seems to have made any difference. It's literally like I've had one fish from that change, but I've had probably another 4 indications. Another indication then. Oh, now there's just them little bits of reed, but like you might think you should have chopped them out, but I think they've been valuable cover. I'm just not getting that big finish that I was hoping for. My only hope was that the shallow line got better and better, and obviously it hasn't. I'm in ducks. It's gone really dark now as well. Like I say, it's just hard work now with no pattern, no real promise of a decent finish. I'm going to give it till past, and I'm going to have a look on that top 2. Oh, bite again then. I'm going to have a look on that top 2 and 2 line. It's almost like the fish that are there now are really high. You think you'd catch them through the water, but I'm not. Like earlier on it was like slap, slap, and then they almost like hit you. See, then there was a fish there again then, but now they're not, for one reason or another. They're just not feeding the same. It's hard to believe that, like, I could come higher and suddenly find them again. But we're at that stage now where I feel like every fish is a bonus. There's one. No, I fouled. Right. While we're out the water, let's have, and we'll have a 2-minute look on the big pot line. Is that the right rig? I mean, that's how deep it is in the open water. So we'll it's worth a quick look. Just put a grain of corn on the hook just to see if there's a few there. I'll change my hook. I've got a Super LWG on, but I'll change to a Kaizen and put a bunch of maggots on if I think there's a few there. But like I say, I'm not, it's just not as an indication, bow waved out. Just not sure you're going to catch in that depth. But we'll have another look now because we just had a sign. Just feeding a bit of everything basically. Be nice to finish with like 5 big uns off this line. Problem is because I'm fishing this at an angle. See, one just bow waved off then. It's because it's so shallow. Like that indication of that fish, it was like it swam into the line at half depth. If it was 5 foot deep, it'd be different. The other downside here is, while I'm fishing here at an angle, it's impossible to feed, but with a catty, so I'm not feeding my shallow line either. So this is literally a decision, like I can't stay on this long. I either stay on it till the end or don't stay on it long. So there's a bubble, like a little pinprick bubble just came up to the side. But it's just not. You know, you think that'd just bolt down the hole if there was a few there. But I think because they're in open water, they don't, and it's only 3 foot deep, they don't feel safe. Right, I'm going to give it another 10 seconds, and then I think. Oh, see, look there, fish has just swam through the line, shallow. If you just saw then, the float just went sideways. But it's like they don't want to go down on the bottom. See that, just bow waved out. We'll put another pot there, just in case we want a big fish to finish, or try and catch a big one to finish. Basically what we got, we've got 45 minutes I think another, if I have a good 45, maybe 5 fish is achievable. A bad one, it'll be 2. Tell you what, let's deepen, let's shallow it up. What should we do? I'm going to deepen it up an inch, as nothing's been having it on the slab. An inch doesn't sound like much, but I haven't got a lot to play with depth wise. That's the problem. I haven't got much. It's only 2.5 foot deep, so I'm getting closer and closer to the bottom in effect. See, the problem is now I've not fed for 2 minutes. So, this is the weird. This is the weird thing. I had an indication then. It's like I'm not turning the indications for some reason into fish anymore. Another indication. Maybe I've just gone the wrong way, as in I've just deepened up. Do I need to shallow up? See, another indication. Bow wave out. It's either they've just gone really funny or something's not quite right. Give this 2 minutes at this depth, and then if this doesn't work, I'll shallow it up a bit more. Because literally I've had 3 indications then, but they're indications, not bites. Let's try single slapping it. The disadvantage when you deepen up, see then, you're not, obviously your float lands further and further away from the cover. Really frustrating. So I'm going to give this, then I'm going to try shallowing up so I can get, then that way the float will land closer to the cover. What I'm doing now is, when you deepen up, obviously your pellet can still land close, but my float's landing further and further away because of the depth of the rig. So if anything, the pellet's then dragged away from the cover. Right. Right. Let's shallow it up. I think I've gone the wrong way there. We're probably at 14, 16 inch. Let's go to, I don't know, 12 inch. Then if the indications stop, I know that I've gone too far the other way. There's fish there again now. Probably won't get a sign now. That's what you call a half strike. It was like a little indication I didn't actually do anything. There's definitely an odd fish there again now. It's just I'm not putting anything. Where that pellet landed then, I'd have bet money that would have got a bite. See, now I'm getting no signs, but I don't know whether that's because I'm too shallow or I've missed my little window of opportunity. What I do know is that 5 fish is looking quite tough the way I'm going at the minute. See, look, fish just swirled under the float. Right, after this, I'm going to slap it 3 more times and then just turn the rig over. So there's a lot less. I've just turned it over anyway. So it just sounds like one pellet plopping against the rushes. Well, either the fish are gone or there's a lot less signs shallower. Well, let's try 3 again. Let's try 4. Maximum noise. 30 minutes to go, and despite setting myself a target of 5, I've not managed another fish. The problem is the peg. I just haven't got any options because of the conditions and it being so shallow up here. There's no fish in open water. I haven't got an edge, so I'm very restricted in what I'm doing, which was fine for a while, and I was hanging in there. But my sort of worst fear has ended up coming true, which is what's happening now. Best part of the match, and all my early good work's being undone. Because I just haven't got anywhere to go. When I do get a bite like that there, I don't hit it. That's what I don't understand. I still feel like 5 fish is achievable, but the only way I'm going to do it is shallow with a little run. But I've messed around with the depth, that's made no difference. I don't know whether I should come shallower again and just persevere, so I can get the hook bait closer to the rushes, so to speak. It's like feeding. I'm trying to be more aggressive because it's a time of day, but it's not happening. So I think I'm going to cut it out again. I've caught as many fish, more fish not feeding. It's just the lack of options that's killed me. If it had been overcast perhaps and a big wind up here, then maybe I'd have caught some fish in open water. But the wind is actually blowing out of here now, which is even worse. The only thing is it's blowing onto that corner. So let's have a quick... Just need a bit of a spark. I mean, the worst thing that could have happened was obviously this wind turning as well. Well, there's hardly been any wind, but what wind there is now is blowing out of this very shallow arm. I really need a couple more fish. But this is probably the first hour, the last hour is now turning into the first hour. Even though I can't see anything in the edge, there's no water colouring up, no nothing, I don't know whether it's worth a try. because this is fading badly. Right, 25 to go. I need one every 5 minutes now, basically. Done some serious slapping today, I know that. Just a couple more fish. I've gone from 5 to, I'll take 3 now. I'm going to have to take 1 if I can even catch 1, because it looks I think one of the issues is I've had to fish it for so long with not a lot of fish there, hence I'm now running out of fish. Well, there's an argument to say I've absolutely run out. Let's try shallowing up a little bit. You know you've gone a long while without a fish when your hook bait's breaking down. Oh, I've shallowed that up again. I think there's one. I think there's a cruiser there, is there? Can't really tell, but worth flicking at. Might have just flicked at a bit of weed. Yeah. Literally, I changed the depth 2 inch then, well maybe 3 inch. Slapped it in and get one first chuck. Is that coincidence, or is that the wrong depth, or? But it's hopefully an extra fish. That's the other thing, they're little again now, which says to me maybe a few like of the main shoal drifted down here. I caught some, and now they've swum back to where they live, which is main part of the lake. Well, we got 20 minutes, 4 more. That's the thing, was that just coincidence, or is the depth change irrelevant? That one had it how they were having it, right on the slap. Well, we've got 9 minutes to go. I've had another 2. This is the 3rd. Basically, just that little bit shallower and alternating the 2 lines. I mean, looking back, I've got no idea how I've done on the lake. Would I have took, I'm going to finish with £100. Would I have took that before the start? Yeah, my target was 60. Would I have done anything different? I think I could have rotated a little bit better. I'm sure loads of people watching this are going to be like, I don't understand why you haven't fished on the bottom. The reason I've not fished on the bottom is it's just too shallow. You know what I mean, 2.5, 3 foot in open water when it's really hot and there's no cover at all, just isn't conducive to catching carp, particularly ones on places like Makins, lagoon lizard in particular. They're old original lakes. These fish have seen it all. So as a result, I've been really limited to what I can do. I mean, could I have fished on the bottom next to the island? Yes. Would I have caught the same? No, not a chance. The bottom, it just doesn't plumb up nice. Now, if there'd have been a nice shallow spot where I could have got into 10-12 inch, then that would have been a really viable option today. But 2.5 to 3 foot against rushes this time of year, your only option, well, my only option's been to fish shallow, which is what I've done. So it's a little bit disappointing, like as in how I've had to fish today, but it's dictated entirely by the peg. Had I had the option to fish to a pallet down the edge, I'd have fancied, there has been some edge fish caught on the lake, I'd have done it, but I haven't had that option. So it's like, it's all about fishing. You can come somewhere with a great plan, and I came here with a plan. Obviously I was going to start short, tap some hard pellets, Bombay mix it down the edge, catch some big fish, but you have to, sometimes you have to adjust your plan to suit the peg, and that's what I've had to do today. The peg's left me with very few options, and I'll be honest, I feel like I'm my own worst critic. Could have rotated a little bit better. I think sometimes I've been guilty of staying one side of the island too long, but overall I feel like I fished it reasonable, considering what the options I had. And that's the secret of match fishing, as in you can only deal with what you've got in front of you. See that, look, literally flick round to the right, probably come off now, but fish first instantly. And that's possibly what I've not done quite as well as I'd have liked. Been guilty sometimes of thinking, well, the right hand side's better. And sometimes you need to come off a swim to make it good again. And I think maybe sometimes I've flogged this side a little bit too much. But that's being nitpicking. You know, I mean, this is regarded as a really, really poor area, particularly with no wind. Had the wind been blown in it, again, different match. I think some fish might have come in that little hole to my left. I still think because of the depth of the island, you're never going to catch any amount of fish fishing to that island on the bottom. Basically, the islands need, like, you need to be able to get into this time of year. Oh, I should have had that, and I should have had it then. This time of year you need to be able to get into shallow water like a mud line, and they're just on these old lakes, because they've become overgrown and obviously the rushes have gone out. You've seen a couple of fish that have gone in the island. That's not a bad one. I've got 2 minutes for one more. Then if I'd have fished on the deck, I might have had odd bites. Most of them would have been fouled and I'd have lost them. Basically, I've had to fish shallow at the depth I'd have liked to fish on the mud line, if there'd been any mud lines. So yesterday's performance has been a little bit the same, but it's shown you a way, if you're not blessed with a nice island with loads of mud, by alternating the two lines, longer lash. That's been really, really important. There's a massive, like, fashion, get out of the way, duck, obviously these days for fishing really short lashes. The fish today are so scared of the pole. So longer than normal lash. Make sure you slap in, you know, and vary it up, but make sure you slap in towards the cover. The fish are in the cover. That's the reason you can't catch anything in open water, is the fact the fish are literally hiding in the cover itself. We've got a minute. Don't know whether it's worth sitting it here now. Looking for one more, that'd give me my 5, although I'd have took 4 a couple of minutes, 25-30 minutes ago. Don't know if I've slapped that across cover. It's always instant, like it tells you that they're so spooky. I literally switch lines, slap first, slap fish. Right, let's go. Doesn't seem any point feeding now. Right, I'd have had one if it was there. Not sure there's one there now. That's your lot. I've got 4 in the last little bit, so I reckon I've got, if my clicking's accurate, just over £100, which, if that's any good on the lake, I'm not sure. Obviously the way they're doing the payout, they were going to pay the match winner and then top 2 on each lake, so I know I've not won the match. I had no chance of winning the match. Look at that, the wind's turning this way now. But if I could win the lake, I'd be more than happy with that from here, so we'll see at the weigh-in. Well, that's been a far better day's fishing than I expected. An hour in, the heat was blistering. There was no sign of any fish, hot flat, I was going nowhere, and I really didn't see I was even going to get to £60, but I've actually weighed 142.12, so it just goes to show, be positive, chop and change lines, adapt to the situation, and you never know what might happen. So I don't know where I've come on the lake. The lads are going to input the results after this, but fingers crossed it's a lake win.